Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me today for our presentation, Lessons Learned, Turning Challenges from 2020 into Opportunities for the Future. Our goal for today is to reflect on some of the challenges that we faced in 2020 and to highlight some of the big picture takeaways that we should take with us into the next school year and school years to come. Let's dig in. My name is Alicia Balfrey. I live here in Eugene, Oregon. I'm a special educator with an Oregon teaching license, and I'm an autism training specialist with STAR Autism Support. So 2020 presented us with a wide range of challenges. This is a word map of some of the challenges we faced in 2020. Some things that stick out here: figuring out new technology, trying to use it as a tool for distance teaching, remote instruction, virtual instruction, lots of different names for it. But there was a huge need for figuring out that piece pretty quickly so that we can continue to, some other challenges we see on here, so that we can continue to maintain those IEP goals, maintain that progress monitoring for students, focus on new routines related to safety and hygiene. And another challenge was figuring out how to support staff, continuing professional development in a virtual manner. And the last one here I want to highlight is working with families. So it was certainly a challenge to figure out how to meet each family's unique needs, how to provide them with the level of support they need while their students are at home. So taking those challenges, we want to think now, how can we turn them into opportunities for the future? So this word map here shows some of the skills we've learned as a result of facing and overcoming some of the challenges from 2020. This provides us with a lot of opportunities for the future. So some things to highlight here are we did figure out how to provide synchronous and asynchronous remote instruction for our students so that they could still work on IEP goals while schools were closed. That all included virtual progress monitoring and virtual data collection. We also developed skills in providing professional development and consultation in a virtual manner. And then the other piece here is we figured out how to provide resources for families, how to provide coaching to caregivers and some parent training so that, again, our students can continue working on those IEP goals, avoid that regression that we sometimes see when our students are out of school, and really help them continue to maintain some of those skills that they have learned in the classroom. So taking all of those skills that we have learned as a result of the challenges from 2020, we can reflect on the lessons that we've learned. So these 5 opportunities for the future is what we'll be focusing on for the presentation. The first will be how we use technology as a tool moving forward. It was certainly something we relied on for remote instruction, but how can we use it moving forward? We'll also touch on the importance of continued family collaboration and parent training. We'll discuss how we discovered new ways to provide flexibility in programming and how we can continue that. We'll also discuss this really important consistency piece, this fidelity of implementation. We learned a lot with how to continue to provide that in distance learning. And we'll reflect on how we can continue that moving forward. And then the last one we'll touch on today is sustainability. And there's lots of different definitions for sustainability. We're going to hit on a few of them. So stay tuned for that last opportunity here. Diving right in, our first opportunity that we'll discuss is how can we use technology as a practical tool. So as we were starting to venture into remote learning and distance teaching, what became clear is that we must maintain the use of evidence-based practices with our students. Even though distance learning and virtual instruction was brand new to all of us and brand new to families and brand new to students, we knew, bottom line, it was still very important to continue using those evidence-based practices, the research-based strategies that we know are effective with our students with autism and other developmental delays. One thing that STAR Autism Support is proud to have developed over last year was SOLS, our SOLS, our STAR online learning system. This was our curriculum for providing those evidence-based strategies to our students, even in the time of remote learning. So this involves real-time teaching from a trained instructor. There are also asynchronous materials available. A huge range of dynamic materials that can be individualized to fit each student's needs, ranging a variety of skill levels. The caregiver training and coaching piece was heavily built into this. And again, the focus here was providing a program so that our educators can maintain an IEP-driven curriculum even during distance teaching. I want to show you a video example here of what remote learning can look like with SOLS. You'll see a couple examples from the primary and secondary levels that's kind of delivered to one student, and then you'll get to see a third example with how instructors can use SOLS for group instruction. Again, this is a very dynamic curriculum. Let's take a look.
Good job, Connor. Good job. That was perfect. Perfect. No, you got it right. Go ahead and reinforce them. This time, just say touch your head, but don't model it. So you keep your hands in your lap, and let's see how he does if you say, Connor, touch your head. Touching head, good. Perfect. Good. Let's try that again. Same exact thing. You say touch your head, and if he does it, you say head and reinforce him. Perfect. Perfect. Nose. Try labeling the body part as soon as he touches it. So when he touches nose, you say nose, so he knows that's what he's touching.
Touch ear.
Perfect. Perfect, Nicole. That was perfect. Good.
Okay, Hunter, I have a white basket for light clothes, and I have a dark basket for dark clothes. Are you ready to help me sort?
Yeah.
Where does this go?
White.
White. How about this?
Blue.
Dark.
Purple. Dark.
That's right.
Dark.
Dark.
White.
White.
Dark.
Dark.
White. Dark.
Dark. Good job.
White.
White.
Sorry. Dark.
Dark.
White.
White. Nice sorting, Hunter. I think you're going to be ready to help Mom with the laundry. Are you ready to help Mom with laundry?
Let's get started on our small group lesson for cooking. But here's what I need to know first. I need to know how you guys are feeling. Today I'm feeling a little tired, but I'm still happy. I'm very happy to see you guys. So Livy Lou, how are you feeling today, honey?
And my brother, I'm feeling happy and a little angry.
Okay, thank you for telling me. I'm glad you're still happy, even though you're a little angry. Why do you feel angry?
I don't remember.
Oh, that's okay. It's better that way. Then you won't be angry as long. All right, and Logie boy, how are you feeling today, handsome?
So unfortunately,
Hungry. I'm starving.
It looks like you're starving because I see you eating a beautiful lunch. I hope soon after you finish, you won't be starving anymore. How about you, Aunt Bug? How you feeling, man? Sorry, parents, you guys are gonna have to mute and unmute for us.
So I can do the muting. I can't do the unmuting.
Okay.
It's just to ask, so.
Okay. Sorry, guys. How you feeling, Aunt?
Sounded. How you feeling?
Happy. I am so glad to hear that. I love when all my friends are feeling happy. All right, my little sweeties, let's look at our schedule. So here's what we're doing. First, we're going to do our greeting. Then we'll do our cooking routine practice with Miss Amore and Miss Casey. We'll do a little teaching time ELA, and we'll do some teaching time math. And then we're going to end on milkshake. Plus, what else is down there? Liv, what do you see down there next to milkshake? What does that say? Can you see?
And a silly surprise.
And a silly surprise. What do you guys think the silly surprise is going to be? I don't know. It's a secret, and I'm not telling anyone. You have to wait until the end, and we'll find out. I didn't even tell Casey or Amore what the silly surprise is.
So I love how engaged all those students were, how animated all the teachers were in all of those videos. And I love that group video example because it's a perfect demonstration of how technology posed a challenge. They were having some issues with the mute, unmute, but it also technology provided a way for this teacher to continue group instruction with her students, even though they were all at home. And also the nice bonus of all of this is that now we've got caregivers, family members involved with their students' instruction. And you can see the instruction looked pretty similar as to what it would look like in the classroom, but we have tailored it for more of a virtual environment, but we're still using those evidence-based practices, and we're still using visual supports and all of those other resources we're used to providing in a classroom setting. So another challenge we were posed with during this age of using technology for remote instruction in 2020 was figuring out how do we continue to provide that dynamic student instruction, that individualized instruction to our students when all of this is so new. We knew that we had to continue individualizing our lesson plans to meet student needs. We knew that we had to interact with students remotely and monitor their engagement. How would we be able to tell if a student was demonstrating those engagement and attending skills? And so one thing that we were able to create technology-wise as a result of this challenge that we were faced with is this new technology called the REAL. And the REAL stands for Remote Education for Exceptional Learners. And I'm about to show you a nice video of some really fun features that are built into the REAL. Again, this was developed with distance teaching in mind, but we can see lots of applications for how we can continue to use this technology so that we can individualize those lesson plans, provide multiple ways for students to engage and interact, and so that teachers do not have to do a ton of prep work to create teaching materials. Instead, they're able to tailor these interactive presentations, incorporate a bunch of motivating activities to meet the specific needs of their students without having to create all of it on their own. So let's go ahead and watch a video example here of some of these really nice features within this new REAL technology.
Now introducing a new interactive feature to the STAR online learning system, the Remote Control Reel. With the Remote Control Reel, you can now maximize student view content and view how your students are interacting with activities when instructing remotely from home or in front of a class. From individual instruction to tracking group interaction, the remote control allows you to seamlessly transition to any learning setting across any device. To use the remote control, First, set up your reel by choosing a category, theme, strand, and set as you normally would. Once you have started your session with your reel, navigate to the bottom of the page and click on the Advance button in the bottom right-hand corner, and then create student URL. Type in a name for the session or student ID and click Get Student Link. A URL will automatically be created, and you can easily copy the URL by clicking the button below. Once copied, you can easily share this URL to students, caregivers, or families on any platform, including Zoom chat or email. Students or caregivers can use the link to access the reel and begin the session. Once a student has joined the session, you will be notified that they are online. As you start instruction, students will be able to view the reel slides in full screen. Unlike screen sharing, students will only see the reel and not any other instructional content that may be on your screen. The remote control is a great tool to limit distractions and maximize student focus and attention. You can also easily track student interaction with the remote control. Now, when students click on the reel, their name and exactly where they've clicked will appear on your screen. Have multiple students in your class? Create multiple unique URLs for each student and easily follow each of their interactions. Use the remote control for group activities and watch as students engage at different spots on the reel. The remote control gives you the opportunity to have interactive sessions with one student or multiple students, depending on your needs. You can use the remote control with students on their PC, Mac, iPad, iPhones, and Android devices. Share and present reels remotely from home, over your computer, or in classroom settings. Maximize student engagement and help your students focus on the most relevant content without the hassle of sharing screens. Learn more about the remote control feature, our reels, and SOL's curriculum by visiting our website today.
So we'll continue to touch on technology as a tool throughout this training, but already we can start to imagine the many applications of technology, and especially of this real technology, to use in conjunction with our traditional learning in in-person environments. So this is especially apparent and applicable because we know that we're seeing more technology in classrooms these days. And truthfully, a lot of our students are really bought into technology. They're really interested in it. So again, we'll start to think moving forward of how we can continue to apply using this tool of technology to supplement our instruction, even when we are back in the classroom. Moving forward now to opportunity number 2, this family collaboration piece. The first thing that I'll touch on here is parent and caregiver training. So this was certainly a challenge that we faced in 2020. It was something that was new to a lot of educators, this ability to collaborate with families more closely, to provide coaching, to provide training, to touch base with families in a meaningful way that was going to set their student up for success, and again, allow them to continue work on that IEP progress monitoring. So what we want to take with us moving forward is we want to remember that families are lifelong teachers to their children. We may have a student for a limited period of time, but families are going to be there in the long run with their child. And so it just makes sense to continue providing this caregiver training piece, this family support piece, as students move throughout their school careers. We also know that research shows that this collaboration between teachers and families leads to long-term positive outcomes in multiple areas of learning, including communication skills, social skills, academics, those routines that we work on with our students. All of that is only going to improve the more we collaborate with families. And so it certainly is something we want to continue moving forward. This has also just been a unique opportunity, despite the challenge, to build rapport, to work on relationships, building those relationships with families, and increasing that level of communication. All of that is only going to lead to more positive outcomes for our students. I want to show you a video example of what caregiver coaching looks like within our SOLS curriculum. And so as you're watching, observe how the instructor on the right is providing concise suggestions. She's providing positive feedback as she's coaching this parent, and you're going to get to see some nice success happen here.
Perfect. And Nicole, as soon as he sits down, we want to give him a cracker or whatever you have in that bowl.
Good job, Connor. Very good. Quick, sit down.
Good. That's perfect. Perfect. Why don't, Nicole, why don't we front load the token board? So go ahead and put 3 tokens on to start with. That way he has to do less work to be reinforced. Perfect. So why don't we do a quick hands down, give him a token, and then just one imitation, whichever one you want to do, either clap your hands or touch your head.
Good job.
Perfect.
Oh, wait. Connor, do this. Oh, good job.
Say touching head. Perfect.
Good job.
Awesome.
Yummy, yum, yum. Yummy, 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 yummy.
Yummy. Yummy, yummy. Okay, take off the 2 pennies again.
Yummy, yummy, yummy,
Yep.
yummy.
And let's do that exact same thing. So hands down, and then I do this.
Hands down.
Good,
Very
hands
good.
down. Perfect,
Hands
Nicole.
down. Do this.
Clapping. Perfect.
Good job, Connor.
Awesome.
Oh, 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 oh.
All right, let's do that again. One suggestion is after he does it, before you say good job, try labeling the action. So when he claps his hand, say clapping hands, good job, so that he hears that language. You're doing perfect though.
Thank you, Connor.
Perfect.
Thank you. Good help. Hands down. Good hands down.
Awesome.
Good job, Connor.
Really nice example there of providing some of that caregiver coaching, and clearly both the student and the parent experienced a nice level of success there. The other thing I want to point out here is this was not the first session that this student did. Prior to this, when this was brand new to the student and brand new to mom, he was doing a lot of running away from the computer, right? That was a big challenge that we had to face in 2020 with distance instruction, was how do we teach our students, especially our young students like this one, to sit and attend to an instructor while receiving virtual instruction. So through repeated practice, through this excellent caregiver coaching, mom was able to learn the strategies that helped her son with engagement during remote learning. And these are great strategies that she can take with her as her son gets older. So she learned in this session how to teach imitation, such a crucial skill for our students. And she was also teaching body parts, but she learned that her son was able to gain those skills through repetition and repeated practice with skills, using really consistent cues, using very clear, concise language, and providing that high rate of positive reinforcement. The other thing to highlight is this looks very different for different students. Again, we would be individualizing this based on each family and student's needs. Other students would be working on different skills. Some students attend to the caregiver for some lessons like this one, but other lessons or other strands and skill levels allow students to interact more directly with the instructor. So again, all of that looks very different based on each student's need. Another challenge that we were faced with in 2020 was that's related to this family collaboration piece, is providing enough resources so that families could do routine practice at home. Since students aren't in school for remote learning, then the focus needs to shift to those functional routines in the home setting. We still want to maintain working on independence and motivation for those routines, regardless of the setting that the student is at. We don't want to allow our students to become prompt dependent just because they're in a different environment. So we were able to use this as an opportunity for students to generalize skills from the school setting into the home setting, certainly something we don't get to see very often or observe very often until now. And also an opportunity for students to learn new routines at home, which we know was so crucial with all of these new hygiene routines, increased hand washing, wearing a face covering, social distancing and physical distancing. These were all new routines that students had to learn, and also that many families needed support with. And so we were able to grab onto this opportunity to provide caregivers with the training and support they need to get that done. There's also another benefit is it provides consistency between home and school. Again, with that increased focus on independence during home routines, we're coaching caregivers with how to set up the environment for success, how to make it really structured and predictable, how to use visual supports, how to use prompts and learn how to fade them, and providing that reinforcement. Those were all of the things that we could focus on with families. And again, it's something that we don't want to leave behind in 2020. We want to take with us, because there are so many families who would benefit from learning some of these strategies as they support their own children at home and community and during community routines. We also learned in 2020 that repeated coaching opportunities are necessary for families to really gain and digest and really be able to apply all of these skills and strategies that we're trying to share with them. It's one thing to provide, you know, a webinar or one training, but it's totally different and a lot more beneficial to provide those opportunities for repeated coaching, for feedback, for live feedback and observations, so that families are getting some more suggestions based on what they've been trying with their child at home. And so that is another thing we certainly can take with us into the next school year and years to come, is how can we consider providing families with those repeated coaching opportunities so that they can get that feedback and continue to provide their child with the structure and strategies that really benefit them. We also know another piece of this is providing resources. So being able to provide things like visuals, pre-recorded webinars that families can view on their own time, and additional materials like independent work and other activities. So all of these pieces have been heavily built into the SOLS program. We have lots of opportunities for live coaching between an instructor and a family member, as well as all of the resources I just mentioned here. Let's watch a video. This is a mom who was getting some support through SOLS with her child's teacher. This is a secondary level student, and this parent wanted to focus on the hand washing routine with her son at home, really focusing on washing hands for long enough and doing it in a way that effectively rinses germs away. So her son's teacher was using SOLS to provide coaching and suggestions around this hand washing routine. And so we'll get to watch as this parent applies what she's learned about using consistent language and visual supports with her son.
Wait. Then?
Wet hand.
Okay.
Turn water off.
Did you wet your hands?
Yes.
Now turn the water off. Then?
Get soap.
Okay, go ahead. Good job. Then scrub. How
Job.
long?
1, 2, 3, 4,
The backs.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Slow. Go slow.
Probe your daughter.
Smile.
You. Turn water
17,
on.
18.
19, 20. Stop.
Turn water on.
You. I start.
Rinse hands.
Pretend. Dry hand. Turn water
Straight
on.
hands.
Take her castle.
And?
Turn trash away.
Okay.
Nice example of mom applying all of those strategies she learned. Let's move into our next opportunity that I want to focus on here, which is flexibility in programming. this is another challenge we were faced with in 2020 was how do we continue to provide differentiated instruction for all the different skill levels that we serve in our classrooms. But we learned that we can still do this. One way is to provide multimodal materials, right? So we definitely knew about in-person learning. We knew what it was supposed to look like in the classroom, but now we have so many more skills and a lesson that we've learned is we can also deliver instruction using synchronous remote materials. We can also use asynchronous instruction too, to help students with that generalization piece. So now we have a nice range of materials we can use with students to really tailor it to their unique needs and what works for their particular learning style. This has given us lots of ways to differentiate instruction. We still needed to figure out how do we simplify activities, how do we make some of them more advanced, and again, we've been able to do that by looking at all of the different ways to provide instruction to our students. And also within SOLS specifically, we have leveled strands for all ability levels. So we have 3 different strands to support students and then sub-strands within those so that we're meeting students exactly where they need to be in their current level of learning. We also needed to figure out how do we provide individual and small group instruction. We know that both of those are very important in the classroom, and so both are important for remote instruction and through SOLS. As you've seen in some of the videos, we've been able to do both individual and group instruction. We also learned last year to be really flexible with our scheduling. We had everyone's schedules to work around, with everyone being at home and lots of distractions in home environments and lots of other challenges to face that don't even have anything to do with education. In addition to trying to navigate remote learning, we had to be really flexible with scheduling. And we can take that skill moving forward. We can continue to be flexible with our scheduling and try to avoid that kind of one size fits all model that really doesn't serve our students, and instead be thinking about, well, how can I take all of this that I've learned, these different materials, this ability to differentiate instruction, the ability to be really flexible with scheduling to really focus on that particular student needs. We also want to make sure that regardless of the instruction we're providing, we're addressing those core curricular areas. So things like receptive language, expressive language, and spontaneous language, working on functional academics, social skills, and engaging in diverse activities, and working on functional routines, both at home and the school setting. All of those core curricular areas are absolutely addressed in the SOLS program. There's a whole scope and sequence and a wide range of skills that students can focus on. Another thing that we can take moving forward into future school years to come with this flexibility in programming is being really creative with our extended services for students. So thinking about things like ESY or extended school year. Before, we may have been pretty limited with how we provide this to our students, but now that we have learned so much with remote instruction and distance teaching and how we can be really creative with it, now we have some other opportunities to provide ESY services to our students. That also applies to any other future school closures, anticipated and unanticipated. We've got a backup plan now. We want to continue to utilize everything that we've learned for those future opportunities. This also gives us some nice ideas for alternative schooling options. So maybe medically fragile students who aren't able to participate in a classroom setting, students who have a high rate of absenteeism, or students who can't attend school for other reasons. Again, now we have some virtual ways to reach those students and continue to meet their needs in a really individualized way. We also get some nice ideas for supplemental services. Perhaps this parent coaching piece, again, we know it's such a crucial piece to incorporate into our educational plan for our students. And now we have learned some skills for how to provide some parent coaching. And so let's maintain that moving forward. And perhaps for some students, we may decide that we want to provide some sort of parent training or parent coaching option so that we can continue to collaborate with families and work on that consistency between home and school settings. Our fourth opportunity here is consistency. This is a huge thing that we preach in special education, absolutely, is consistency for our students. And a big thing that we have all been focusing on is how do we ensure that we have seamless transitions between instructional opportunities and environments for our students. So how can we ensure that consistency? How can we minimize the negative effects of change that we know can be so detrimental to our students? We certainly don't want them to be regressing in any of their skills when there is this big transition that happens. So we're considering moving from in-person to remote learning, moving from remote learning to in-person. Maybe we're thinking about a hybrid model that incorporates both of these. We have to be prepared for some of these transitions. And we know, once again, using evidence-based practices is crucial and required regardless of the learning environment. So we're thinking about these transitions as we're moving through, but really trying to align the strategies that we're incorporating regardless of that environment. So we want to have a continued focus on routines, whether they're home routines or school routines or community routines. And we need to make sure that we have consistency across the curricula that we're using. There should be a consistency between lesson plans so that, again, you're still working on similar skill levels, similar skills with the students, but maybe your lesson instruction looks a little bit different for remote versus in person. Another example that we have here for consistency across environments is aligning your thematic content. So for example, we on our website have a STAR Media Center, and there's lots of resources in there. One of those is called Themes First, and those are monthly theme units that teachers can use in the classroom that involve circle time activities, small group activities, independent work, a huge range of resources. All that being said, all of those monthly themes align with the monthly themes we have for SOLS, our remote learning curriculum. So by having that that crossover between the two, we're able to continue providing that thematic-based instruction with our students, and again, highlighting that need for consistency and trying to mitigate the effects of too much change for our students. So that is just one example of how even in thematic content, we've been trying to be very purposeful with aligning these things. So like I said, we want to make sure we're continuing to align our instruction. So always having a remote instruction option aligned with whatever is happening in the classroom. So for example, our SOLS curriculum is aligned with our in-person curriculum for primary students called the STAR program. Both of these use evidence-based practices that heavily align with each other. What you see on the screen here is a kind of getting started checklist for teachers that we provide if they're using SOLS or STAR. So on the left, we have our SOLS checklist for remote instruction. On the right, we have our STAR program checklist for our in-person curriculum instruction. But you'll see a lot of crossover between these checklists. Both of them start with an assessment to determine what the student's current level is and what lessons are appropriate for them. Both of them involve data collection and progress monitoring to make sure that what we're doing is effective and also give us some information to guide our decision-making for next steps for instruction. Also includes steps like arranging the environment for success and communicating with families. So again, not all of this should change just because we're in a different learning environment. We still need to make sure we're aligning these. And so this is something we can continue moving forward with any of these transitions that happen. In addition to that, we have to ensure that our progress monitoring is aligned. And so we've also aligned our SOLS assessment with our STAR program assessment. So both have 3 levels. In SOLS, they're called strands, A, B, and C. And in STAR, they're called levels 1, 2, and 3. SOLS is going to be used for remote instruction, and then when teachers are preparing to move back into the classroom with their students, they're going to move over to STAR, which is our in-person curriculum, and because they have done the assessment piece for SOLS, they can apply it directly to their assessment for STAR and get started on instruction without having to spend a bunch of time stopping instruction to kind of refigure out where to start with students. So again, the takeaway from this is align the plans and the assessments and progress monitoring between environments so that you can maintain that momentum of instruction with students and not have to stop and start and stop and start. I just talked about progress monitoring, but we also want to be thoughtful. A couple things to touch on here are aligning IEPs between learning environments, and again, making sure that we are maintaining that data collection and assessment piece. Another takeaway is that when we have multiple learning environments that we're really focusing on with our students, like home versus in-person, it helps us out. A nice bonus is helps us out with generalization data. So before, it might have been really hard to track generalization. Is our student actually taking what they've learned from the classroom and using it in the home setting? But what we've learned now is that we still have ways to collect that data in the home setting. And so let's use that when we're taking our generalization data to really determine, are the skills we're teaching to our students meaningful? Are we making sure that they're purposeful and useful to our students? That is always going to be the end goal with generalization. Can they use it in multiple environments with multiple people? Let's move now into our final opportunity we'll be discussing, which is sustainability. Like I mentioned before, sustainability has many different definitions, but kind of how we're going to refer to it today is recognizing that in general, the resources we have access to are finite, and therefore we should be using them with long-term goals and long-term priorities in mind. There's several different ways for applying this here. The first one I want to talk about is professional development solutions. So this was a huge challenge that we were faced with in 2020. We recognized that educators absolutely needed more training. Again, remote learning was brand new to all of them, and so they needed that professional development. And so we had to get really creative with providing professional development in a virtual way so that we can still effectively deliver staff training remotely. We know that professional development in general is crucial for sustaining effective instruction, especially when there's a huge change to deal with, like moving instruction from the classroom to the home environment. However, moving forward, even when we're not talking about remote instruction, providing virtual professional development opportunities gives us a lot more flexibility in scheduling and time, because we know that this continued staff training helps with fidelity of implementation and is a requirement when there's new members of the team. We also learned new ways to provide consultation opportunities when we're unable to visit the classroom. So we were still able, as STAR trainers, to meet with teachers one-on-one remotely. We could still conduct classroom observations by either tuning in live during virtual instruction or having teachers pre-record and send to us for feedback. We also had many more opportunities to connect with families. So all of these tools that we've learned for professional development, we want to maintain moving forward. I just want to share with you here a list of some of the virtual workshop opportunities we've been able to provide and continue to provide. This year, our evidence-based practice educator trainings on the different curricula we have, topic-specific trainings like positive behavior supports, coaching caregivers, remote learning, more advanced workshops for consistency. We've also been able to provide virtually parent and caregiver trainings so that we can meet that family support piece. And in addition to that, we've been able to provide childcare and gen ed trainings as well, so that we are working on those partnerships with others that are providing care to our students. Continuing our talk about sustainability here, we want to cultivate equity and inclusion moving forward. This is always something that we're trying to strive for in our classrooms. And so again, let's latch on to those increased opportunities to collaborate with families. Let's continue developing shared goals and sharing our expertise with one another so that we can continue to establish that trust and rapport. Like I said, we want to develop those authentic partnerships with gen ed and childcare providers and continue providing multimodal learning opportunities to meet each student's unique needs. The other piece of sustainability is building fidelity and longevity. So considering again, how do we use technology as a tool for sustainability? It helps us with fidelity of implementation. If we can provide detailed lesson plans to instructors in a digital format, then they have that information at their fingertips ready to go when they need it. Technology also gives us ways to provide instructional materials to paraprofessionals and families. So through the real technology I've been talking about that STAR Autism Support developed, we can provide instructional materials to paraeducators, to families, and teachers can individualize that and send them out without having to spend a bunch of time prepping those materials. Continuing that conversation on prep work and lessening that for teachers. Teacher time is so valuable. We want to make sure we're maximizing instructional time with students, and so we want to reduce prep work. Using digital tools like the reel for instruction or digital lesson plans leads to reduced need for printing and laminating. So we're also addressing sustainability from an environmental standpoint by considering technology tools. We also, in this format, can provide ready-made materials like visual supports, so teachers aren't having to create those from scratch. And also, we want to make sure we're providing resources to educators so they can set up their classrooms and schedule things with their students in mind successfully. So in order to meet the sustainability opportunity here, we have to make sure we're providing resources for families and resources for inclusion. So on our website, on the STAR Media Center, we have a variety of free home supports for families, schedules, visual supports, activities that families can use at home with their children. We also have on the Media Center a section called Routine Essentials, which is a plethora of visual supports that educators can access to support their students in the classroom or at home. So this is great for those inclusion opportunities where we are trying to encourage our gen ed, our general educators to use visual supports as well. As an example of some resources for educators, in addition to the ones I've already mentioned on the STAR Media Center, we also have a unit on learning during COVID-19. There are lots of resources in here, including lots of different visual supports for students, sequence strips for new routines in the age of COVID-19, social scripts for what to expect, video model, lots of those great resources that are effective with our students. We also, for teachers, have a variety of teaching resources, including some action plans. So we have a safe and healthy classroom action plan. When teachers are starting to go back into the classroom, they can use this as kind of a guide or checklist to make sure they are considering all of those health precautions, all of those considerations they want to take into account as they're preparing to go back to the classroom. We also have an action plan for remote learning as well that has a bunch of different considerations on it. The last piece I want to point out here is these classroom maps. We also have this in the Learning During COVID-19 unit. These are just examples of how educators can set up their classroom spaces for instruction provided through our curricula, but also ideas for physical distancing between students and those increased hygiene practices. Finally, I just want to remind everyone again that on our website, which the link you see at the bottom here of your screen, starautismsupport.com, If you go there, anybody can access the free resources for families. Just look for that big COVID-19 free home supports button, and you will find visuals, templates, schedules, pre-recorded webinars on a variety of topics related to functional routines that are each about 15 minutes long, and lots more support. So please do check those out. We find that they've been really valuable to those who have accessed it. So please make sure you take a look at those when you get a chance. Thank you so much, everyone, for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate you joining me. If you want any more information about anything I've discussed today, you can go to our website or email us at information@STAR Autism Support. Thanks again, and take care.